covering the world of professional wrestling from coast to coast. A show by members of the Busted Open Nation. Welcome to the Nation's Corner. Here are your hosts, the Nation's Corner crew.
Hey, what's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to the Nation's Corner. I am Front Row. With me, as always, is the greatest truck driver of all time, Tony Justice, Mongrovian Mike, and our special guest tonight, Ezra Vickrey, fresh from an all-out weekend. What's up, people?
What's happening, everybody?
Hey, man. What's up, Mike? Nope. Mike's not talking to us, apparently.
His internet is currently stuck in 1945.
There we go. Okay. We got you now.
I'm here. How we doing, people?
Okay, so lots of stuff happened this week. Man. Some of it we're going to talk about. Some of it we're going to gloss over because I feel like some of the stuff there's been a ton of coverage on. So, we give cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
I got coffee.
Water.
So if you're wondering why I'm wearing this crazy shirt, last week we were on a cruise, and my wife and I, along with my son and his boyfriend and Money Mark, who's in the chat. What's up, Money Mark? And our good friend Brian Cervantes, co-owner of Mission Pro Wrestling. Shout out to Brian. And my wife bought me this really cool shirt for the cruise, and I forgot to wear it. So I'm wearing it tonight in the show, just to make her smile, and because it's a Dunkin' Donut shirt. So we had a great time on the cruise. It was a whole lot of fun. Sucked coming back to work, but I'm happy to be here with you guys talking wrestling.
Yeah, man.
Okay,
a lot of stuff happened.
Let's
this week.
Oh my God, so much stuff. So. Let's do a little rewind. Let's jump back to last weekend. Ezra, you were in Chicago for one hell of a weekend. We could spend hours and probably have talking about all the cool stuff that happened last weekend. But why don't you hit us with a few things from the events around All Out, like some of the things that you did leading up to the event itself?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that on Thursday there was a celebrity softball game, which I fortunately wasn't able to attend, but I heard it was a great time from a bunch of my friends who went. And it was a great time getting to meet some of the talent out there. Of course, Friday Rampage. Saturday, was the AEW Fan Fest, and that was an excellent time. Very different from last year's Fan Fest, where it was very organized, a lot more efficient when it came to lines and the way the whole structure of the event itself. Definitely one of the highlights for me was getting to see, of course, Busted Open do their thing at the Fan Fest. They hosted, of course, a live 1-hour program with some special guests. Then they recorded a ton of live interviews, which we all got to witness and stand by and watch. People like Eddie Kingston, Wheeler Yuta, all these guys, Ruby Soho getting interviewed by Dave and Mark, and it was a cool thing to watch. Of course, got to meet Dave, Mark, and Gabby, and Paul, the producer, this past weekend. It was awesome to meet them and talk with them again, and really getting to represent the nation and just overall, I thought that was great. They had they had a live taping on Restricted. They had BT Championship being defended there in a game. They had a bunch of other stuff going on, autographs, photo ops, all that stuff. Got to meet guys like Wheeler Yuta, Butcher and the Blade, Sky Blue, Mikey Ruckus, Josh Woods, all those guys and gals. But then after that was done, of course, I had to go crazy and went to GCW and the Art of War Games, and it was, of course, a glass-filled violent affair.
Were you injured?
No. Thank God it was more towards the entrance and not up front. But it was cool. Got to be in a mosh pit with Nick Gage and getting to meet the king of the deathmatch himself. It was an awesome night. Getting to say hi to Effie and Alley Cash and some of the talent that were there. Really, really cool. But yeah, that was somebody. And then of course the All Out pre-party, which was fun as all hell, featuring Smart Mark Sterling getting punched in the gonads by Danhausen 4 different times because he tried to read poetry when the crowd didn't want to hear poetry.
No kidding.
Yeah, they did a Hungry Hippos tournament, and they did a dunk take all for charity. Proceeds went to Paul Chicago, which helps animals find forever homes. And then they also did a rap set from Platinum Max Caster, and La Greca was there too, doing an interview with The Factory, which of course that went off the rails very quick with QT Marshall just burning everybody in the audience, including his own mother. So, and of course, we had the big pay-per-view on Sunday, and we could talk about that for a long time, man. There was a lot of great matches, a lot of great moments. Just overall, one hell of a weekend.
Yeah, so we watched All Out from home, and it seemed like the crowd was hot pretty much from start to finish. Was that your feeling in the room?
Absolutely. When the crowd was pretty much almost all the way full by the time the halfway through 0 hour. It seemed like everybody was in their seats with their food, their merch, all ready to go. By the time the All Out pay-per-view started, there was barely a seat left in the house. There was only a few gathered spots, maybe 20 seats maybe available left, and the crowd was red hot. There was only one time it kind of died down, but that was, of course, after one hell of a match between the Acclaimed and Swerve in Our Glory, which that was probably the crowd was most red hot for outside of Punk and Jon Moxley. But yeah, it kind of died down after that. But otherwise, the crowd was from minute 1 to minute done, absolutely electric, loud, and boisterous, man. So.
Yeah, I think for me, probably the match that I enjoyed the most outside of the main event was probably Jericho and Danielson. Here's two guys that came from WWE, obviously not forever, but they spent a big chunk of time there. And they tend to wrestle a WWE, or had tended to wrestle a WWE style. Ever since coming to AEW, Jericho's wrestled different styles, but he was forced to work a more technical, more physical style with Danielson. And I keep saying it every week on this show. Like, I think Danielson's my favorite male wrestler in the world right now. He can do anything with anyone for any length of time on any show. And there's like a handful of people who can do that. And I think this was the longest match on the card too, if I remember this. Yeah, it's like 23, almost 24 minutes. Just incredible. Every time he's on screen, every time these guys are on screen, and Jericho does work he's done some comedic stuff. He's done some more serious stuff. We saw Jericho and Gage here in Charlotte live, which was a whole different thing for him. But I think these two guys continue to lay the foundation for what AEW has continued to build.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
go ahead, Elder.
I was going to say, yeah, it was an amazing match, and just to see Jericho go back to his every old, going back to Lionheart. I mean, come on, and just going back to all the original, from the Dungeon on, and the Painmaker, just every character he's been bringing back has just been spot on, and he really has. He's upped his game. He's one of the GOATs, that's for sure.
Yeah. So one of the questions I had for you, Ezra, is we keep seeing. For me, one of the things that I have issues with continually is like the way that the AEW women's division is booked, the way that it's presented. But I felt like this 4-way match, just Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Hikaru Shida. This was a good match, and at least 3 of the people in this match are outstanding wrestlers. And I felt like Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm specifically got the opportunity to shine. Do you guys think the right person won here?
Yeah, I think the right person did win. I mean, I believe Sheeta's already had the belt, and I believe Toni Storm was the number one contender to begin with. It was supposed to have this ongoing, maybe possible feud, maybe matchup with Thunder. That's what it seemed like presented to us on TV. But to me, I feel like the right person won. Toni is a awesome professional wrestler. She could do just about anything. She's got a great character, great look. She's great in the ring. I mean, people were saying, "Oh, give the belt to Jamie Hayter," but I think it's too soon for Jamie Hayter because she needs to break away from Dr. Britt Baker first in order for her to get to that level. And it seemed like there was a little bit of dissension afterwards during one of the videos they posted on YouTube where Jamie stormed off and didn't want nothing to do with Britt after the match was over. But yeah, I believe the right person won on this one.
Yeah, Elder.
Oh yeah, this match definitely lived up to what it was supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, Toni Storm just really, you know what? She came in AEW and she took it by storm. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Well, is definitely intended. She's great, and it's gonna be awesome to see our girl Thunder come back and take the belt back from her. So it will be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because we don't know how long Thunder's going to be recovering from injury. We don't know how any of that's going to play out. But she is still our AEW Women's World Champion, and with Toni Storm as the interim champion, they can continue to tell those stories. I do like the idea of Jamie Hayter breaking off from Britt, and then they could almost turn Britt babyface because she has enough popularity. But I also think Jamie Hayter's in that same zone where she's gathering a lot of fan support. So maybe you keep Britt as the bad guy and move forward that way. So there's a bunch of other stuff. We're not going to go through all 15 matches on the card. I do like what they're doing with Christian Cage. I was surprised that they had 4 matches on this pre-show. It was a really busy pre-show. The only other thing that I took that I still scratch my head over is the Jade Cargill situation, because she continues to beat everybody. She beat Athena in what was this? How long was this? This was a short match. This was 4 minutes bell to bell. And Athena is who she is. She's a very talented, very accomplished NXT champion. She's Warrior Wrestling champion. She's been all over the world, wrestled everywhere. And then she gets essentially squashed by Jade. And for my money, she was the last person that they had on the roster that was posing a legitimate threat. So I have no idea what they're going to do with Jade at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they had Athena come in and basically they were building her to be the next person to beat Jade, and then all of a sudden she gets taken out in the same fashion as everybody else that's gone against Jade. So it's like they're not doing a good job of building anyone in the women's division to take that title off of Jade. And they seem to be having a problem all across the board on the women's division of that same problem. So just my opinion.
Yeah, and obviously it sucks because Statlander got hurt, and I think they were building her into a good position. Had Thunder not been injured, I think that they were probably gearing up towards Thunder and Toni Storm having maybe a series of matches with Toni Storm possibly winning the title. We don't know where that was headed, but I could see that. I could see them picking that up when she returns. But I was bummed to see Statlander out, and I think we just saw on Twitter or on social media a couple days ago she just had surgery, so she's going to be out a while, which sucks. But hopefully she comes back better and stronger. We saw Punk get injured. We didn't know he got injured during that main event, but apparently he tore his tricep. He did the post-media scrum, which has been covered to death. But we'll talk about it for 2 minutes here because it's worth talking a little bit about. We were all watching, and just to pull the curtain back, we had finished watching the pay-per-view, and I turned the TV off, and we were on Zoom just sort of talking about the show. And Tony said, "Hey, are you guys watching this thing?" And I'm like, well, "What thing?" So we pulled it up on the screen and pulled it up on YouTube. and I was watching this, going, "Holy shit! What is going on here?" And I started texting friends of ours, and we all started getting everybody connected. And it was an insane roller coaster that still not sure what was real, what wasn't real, what the outcome is. Rumors are that some people got suspended. We know CM Punk had surgery this week. He's going to be out a minute, upwards of like 6 to 9 months. I don't know if any of that stuff, none of that stuff's been confirmed about any of the suspensions. I've seen stuff in the dirt sheets about it, but I haven't seen any formal press releases. So take it with a grain of salt. But we do know that Tony Khan made the announcement at the beginning of Dynamite that the trios titles and the world title were now vacant. So let's talk about that a little bit. We've got this trios title, which we had on Wednesday, and then we have the tournament coming up for the vacant world title. Ezra, what are you feeling about this world title tournament?
I think it's a great idea. You put in former world champions. It doesn't have to be AEW world champion. If you look at, like you said, we got TNT champions, we got world tag team champions, we got AEW world champions. I think it's great because, it's the best possible solution with everything going on right now. And yes, he did that.
By the way, whoever made the pastries were the real winner of the weekend because they looked amazing. Those cupcakes with like all the frosting.
Yeah,
that was it for me.
I know. I gotta ask my best friend if he knows where those at. So next time we go to Chicago, and grab some. But yeah, I think the tournament's a smart idea because with everything going on, with the supposed suspensions and all the hullabaloo around the media scrum. They had to react, and they had to react fast. And for what it is, I think they did a good job. They put together a nice little tournament featuring some of the best talent that AEW has. And, we had some great matches out of it. And now, this coming now on Dynamite coming up, we got a rematch between Jericho and Bryan Danielson coming up. And we got Moxley and Sammy, who I don't remember ever facing each other on Dynamite. So this will be very interesting. I think this is going to be an awesome bout.
Calm down, Dreamer. What are you doing over there? Eating?
Yeah, I got something. Yeah, I like to thank Baker's Treat. And Ezra, I got a question to ask you. How you doing, buddy?
How you doing?
I just wanted to pop you guys. That's it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Do you know Scott Colton? No. Well, we're gonna talk about him anyway. Okay. That whole thing was awkward.
In the next 5 seconds, so be prepared.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's Scrum. It was definitely entertaining to say the least. But it was a train wreck. Basically, you couldn't look away because, he was firing some live rounds at all kinds of people, and sitting right beside Tony Khan and just basically shutting him down. When Tony tried to speak, CM Punk would just interrupt him. I'm like, wow, that's your boss sitting right there, and you're just gonna walk all over him like a doormat. So yeah, Tony Khan had to respond, and I think he did the right thing as far as vacating the titles. You didn't want to see another interim. I'm tired of that word interim. And you just put the belt on Punk, and it lasted for what, a day? I don't know. He had to do something. He had to react, and I think he did the right thing on Wednesday by having the filmed thing that he said. So, but yeah, he had to react. He had to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw some criticism online about that being a pre-recorded segment, but I think First of all, Tony Khan's expressed the desire to not be an on-screen character.
No.
So he's recording an announcement as the owner of the company, and it also eliminates the ability of the crowd to hijack the segment. So I totally think that was the right call. Release the statement. I think at some point when because we understand, or at least I've heard that there's an investigation going on. There's actually a legal investigation going on with some of this stuff. So the company is not going to release a statement until the results of that investigation are in. So that makes sense. At some point, we'll probably see a formal announcement from the company with suspensions and fines and all that stuff. But for now, it's all speculation. But so let's move on a little bit. We did see. I want to talk a little bit about some WWE stuff because I personally was. And I think we talked about this the other night. Was Raw for me was can miss for a long time. Like I watch it, it's enjoyable, but it's fast food. You watch it, you forget about it. And we even talked about the fact that sometimes Raw would end and you'd look over and go, I didn't realize the show ended. Since Triple H, Stephanie, Road Dogg, Shawn Michaels, since this whole new regime has taken over for the last few months, the shows are must watch, can't miss. Every segment, every match has a purpose. Everyone's taking steps forward. They're connecting the dots to the point where on both Raw and SmackDown this week, we came away going, oh my God, it's over already? So I wanted to get each of your thoughts on some of the things that you're seeing that have been improved in the last couple of months. And then Elder Mike Mongrovian, let's start with you. What are you liking?
Well, definitely right from the beginning, actually from the beginning, the way it starts out, it's not your it was just your cookie cutter beginning every week on Raw, which was, whatever, it was 15 minutes of banter. Now it's just been it's just been starting out right from the beginning. The little things that you're seeing in the background, and that you not see all that stuff. The bring back they saw as we missed. It's just been the storylines have been, they have continuity, and they leave you wanting more. They leave you saying, I got to tune in next week to see what's happening.
Right. Gotcha. I think we gotcha. Ezra?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely what Elder's saying. The little things you see in the background, the little hints, almost like of what's next or what's to come. You're seeing that in the background, like you saw this past weekend. You would see stuff in the background, like people running to a scene, or you'll see Nikki ASH throwing her mask on the ground and walking away from Piper Niven. You see things like that, and that leaves little clues into what's next for that character, what's next for that story. And to me, I think what's also been great is the overall the characters, the way they've been portrayed on the show. Like even Gunther, for instance, on SmackDown, Imperium being brought back. That's great. On Raw, you look at the whole Dexter Lumis Miz thing. It is absolutely one of my favorite stories being told right now. It is hilarious. It is creepy, but it is fun. That wide shot, that panned-in shot of Dexter outside the ring on the steel cage, underneath the cage, is one of the greatest moments of Raw this year so far. And one other thing, and of course, we can't talk about Raw without talking about the return of Braun Strowman. I mean, how impactful did Strowman look on his first night back? Came back to his old theme song, came out there and just wrecked shop. No Strowman Express, no train noises, none of that BS. Just came out there and kicked ass. That's exactly what should be for Braun Strowman, not some choo-choo train, Strowman Express BS that they did before.
Agreed. Yeah. Tony?
Man, they are taking advantage of all the square footage they have in every shot on Raw. They're taking advantage of different things, telling stories as much as they can. Like even with backstage vignettes, and you have to pay attention to the background and see what they're doing back there to explain certain things like Dexter, the security run into the ring and all that stuff. And then last week they had the flipped over car in the back, which was leading to Braun Strowman's return, which was awesome. I mean, the way things are getting paid off and they're able to tell stories. I mean, it's just night and day compared to the way it used to be in WWE. I'm loving it. We were all on Zoom watching that, what Ezra was just talking about with Dexter laying on the mat under the ring looking up. I laughed my freaking ass off when I saw that. It was just a hilarious shot, and you don't really know what's happening there, but you kind of it's like they're doing a good job of innuendo, on different things, and it's just it's just amazing. I'm on board, and I'm just excited for the future for the way it's going now. And there's just so many things. I mean, they're bringing people back that were let go, and if you're a huge wrestling fan, WWE fan, who's left out there that's waiting in the wing, hopefully to come back, and that's Bray Wyatt. And I'm excited to see when that's going to happen.
Also, another thing I'd like to add in is the shine that they're putting on the secondary belts. I'm waiting for them to do it on the 24/7 belt, but they've done it with the Intercontinental and the United States. It's awesome. Very good.
Yeah, and so our good friend Ashley and her family were at Raw this week, and apparently they had a great time. The show was live, and one of the things that I'm seeing reports of that we used to see back in the day was during Raw, SmackDown, during the commercial breaks, they usually run video packages and stuff like that. They're going back to the old ways of having the talent entertain the live crowd. Even during matches, they're not really doing rest holds and stuff. They're continuing the matches. We're starting to see more picture-in-picture where there's a continuity. If you paid for a ticket, you get a full show. You're not just sitting on your hands during every 4 to 5 minute commercial break. I really like that for the live event, for the live people. But Mongrovian Mike, to your point, that Intercontinental title match between Gunther and Sheamus at Clash of the Castle, and we could talk a little bit about Clash, which was a perfect pay-per-view. There was only 1, 2, 3, 4. There was like 6 matches on the card, and that's a perfect pay-per-view for me. 6 matches, couple hours, 2 to 2.5 hours. Those Sheamus and Gunther got just a hair under 20 minutes, and they beat the absolute shit out of each other. Like we always hear stories about Sheamus being super physical, but Gunther's a guy that brought the fight to him, and you saw the back and forth. So to me, that was my favorite match on the pay-per-view that was overwhelmingly well received.
And I also would like to say that it really is. Let's say like Sheamus, all of these Sheamus and McIntyre, all of these stars that were stuck over here during the pandemic, they kicked it up a notch and they kept us entertained, and they really got a well-deserved welcome from a fan base that was starved for some WWE entertainment to come over and do what they did. And
yeah,
what is going on?
Elder's CompuServe dial-up is not working too well this evening. Tell Jackie to get off the phone.
Yeah,
I
made the comment the other day. I made the comment during the pay-per-view when we were watching it, that crowd was amazingly hot, and it rivaled probably or equaled a Chicago crowd, a Philly crowd, on how hot the crowds are in the U.S. That crowd there you could put that crowd up there with them. I mean, they were just reacting to everything. They were hot. They were in the moment. There was not a lull moment in that crowd. I can't even think of one. They were just so excited to have a show after not having a show for 30 years. So that's like you shake up the Dr. Pepper bottle and you just take the top off of it and it just spews out. That was that crowd. I feel like their energy showed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the crowd. Sorry, Esther, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, the crowd energy was off the charts. I got to watch Clash at the Castle for the first time actually this morning because, as you know, there was so much wrestling to digest this past weekend, live and on the internet. It's hard to keep track of things. So I was able to watch Clash this morning, and I agree. An absolute, just the crowd was electric. And of course, we talk about the matches, we talk about that, and of course the crowd got what they wanted, which was Drew McIntyre. In some ways, it's not the full thing, but we did hear Broken Dreams by Shaman's Harvest for the first time in well over a decade. Even though it was with the video package and not him walking to the ring, it was still cool to hear that song on a live WWE programming, and everybody got what they wanted. So, and I thought that match between Drew and Roman was an absolute banger. It was physical. It was a great performance by both men, and of course the debut of Solo Sikoa I thought was well done. I thought they did a great job presenting him, and I think that this is going to be it's gonna be interesting to see how this all plays out going forward with Roman and the Bloodline, and especially now with Solo coming up from NXT to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think so that match was just over 30 minutes, almost 31 minutes, and it was incredible. Those two guys are two of the very best out there right now, and you would think on paper you would sort of be like, well, I'm kind of sick of seeing these guys in matches together, but they're just so good. Like, you just can't get sick of matches at that level that are so physical, so technical and tight. Like, if you've ever seen Roman wrestle live, you know how hard he hits and like how physical he is. I think sometimes he looks so smooth on TV, you don't realize how big and strong and fast he is until you see him live. You have to see him live. And the same is true for Drew McIntyre. I'm super happy that Drew's having this run that he's having. And to talk about Solo Sikoa, it was really cool to see him there because I think he's the first like real call up from NXT 2.0. Like, Raquel's been up and there's been a few people, but those people were also around during the Black and Gold brand. Like, this is a true, 2.0 guy, and his impact both at the pay-per-view and on SmackDown was awesome. So let's talk about that a minute, because I know, Tony, you didn't see SmackDown, but one of the other aspects of the Triple H influence that we're seeing is where they're threading storylines throughout the shows, which I think is a big, big part to keep people invested. And they had segments throughout the show with Solo interacting with the Usos, Sami Zayn, and then as a group. And we saw Sami Zayn protect Roman rather from getting hit with that chair shot, and then again in the match on Friday, he protected Solo from getting hit with a Claymore. It's interesting because Sami, his participation in the Bloodline has been sort of comedic at first, but now you're seeing him take a serious approach to trying to earn their respect. And I don't think it can be overstated how talented Sami Zayn is. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on where they're going to go, because I think Jey Uso is still not on board with Sami, but Jimmy is, and of course, Solo's sort of ambivalent, but he also appreciates the fact that Sami's been saving their ass for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think personally, I think this is going to lead to something, because Sami also is not only is he trying to show his allegiance, but he's also conflicted. If you've seen it in Raw a couple weeks ago, when Kevin Owens came out to confront him about his allegiance to the Bloodline, you saw that Sami was a little bit conflicted when it came to wanting to hit Owens with the chair. So people may say, well, Sami may stick with the Bloodline. I don't think it's going to be for too much longer. Eventually, Sami's going to break off, and I think we're going to see Sami and Kevin possibly reunite as a tag team, and maybe even go for those undisputed tag team titles against the Usos, depending on if Jey sees something and he doesn't like and ends up kicking him out himself, or how the story builds. But Sami's done an incredible job. He is literally the reason why I watch a lot of segments on Monday Night Raw, especially the Bloodline segments, is because of Sami, because he's so damn entertaining. The dude is literally even before the Triple H era, that dude was the MVP, because that dude could do anything. He could be comedic, he could be serious, he can go 30-40 minutes in the ring, and then he can also get kicked in the face by Drew McIntyre in less than 5 minutes. So either way, the guy is the MVP. So
yeah, and shout out to our friend Todd in the chat mentioning seeing Drew and Roman having a match at I think a live event. And yeah, we've seen both of those guys are just incredible at the non-televised events. So let us know in the chat how you guys feel about either Sami Zayn or Solo. We're understanding that Roman's not going to be there every week. He's going to defend the title at various pay-per-views, but now you have the Usos as a tag team and you have Solo as a solo competitor. Does he take the place of Roman in that singles match category, or is he not quite at that level yet? Do they just throw him in there?
I think they'll use him as that's a good point, front row. I didn't even think about that. But
that's
yeah,
what they do. Good point. Crab cake.
And crab cakes. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they can have Solo come down and be that imposing figure to come down with the bloodline, just to kind of be there and as backup, and fill that singles role whenever Roman isn't there. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see. I mean, I'm glad to see it happen, because that's just telling that story of the bloodline, because it's an actual bloodline. It's other than Sammy, that's a actual bloodline. And it's awesome to see it on TV, and the fans have been kind of clamoring for it for some time, to wonder if that was going to happen. So yeah, I mean, I see Solo being in that singles role when needed, to give Roman kind of a break and kind of give him a longer reign with that championship, because he's working on a huge number carrying that championship, or both of those championships now. So.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that is so Solo is, I believe, 8 years younger than the Usos. So you have the younger brother, older brother's dynamic sort of going on there, and you've got the young, up-and-coming talent who is eventually going to have his eyes on the prize. He's eventually going to have his sights, or maybe not. Maybe he just falls in line, and they're a cohesive unit for the next 10 years. I don't know, but that doesn't make sense to me either. Oh, going to give Trenda a huge shout-out. A good
What's
friend,
up, Trenda?
Trenda. Yeah, even as the bloodline, he's as part of the bloodline. He's an individual. Yeah, definitely. And you can tell that just because he has the Rikishi hair, like he has a lot of the elements of the Samoan dynasty, while having his own look and feel. Like he doesn't look exactly. He doesn't have the same build as his brothers, right? He's got his own thing going on and his own skill set. He moves differently than the other guys do. So that's going to be interesting. I know we keep talking about the possibility of The Rock coming back next year, but now they're building this bloodline to the point where personally, I don't think they need it. Would it be cool? 100%. Like, I would pop if he shows up and they do something down the road, or they do something at WrestleMania at The Rock. Awesome. But as it stands right now, I don't actually see a spot for The Rock to fit in the storyline, especially with Roman being part-time.
Right.
So one of the other things that has really stuck out to me is Damage Control. Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. One of the things that I've noticed, and I don't know if this is a Triple H influence or not, but Bayley steps back from the group, even though she's the leader. Do you notice she always gives them more mic time? She gives them more spotlight. She positions herself in a way that puts the other two women in the spotlight. And I have to think there's some coaching going on behind the scenes, because we know Bayley's done a lot of coaching and producing and a lot of that other stuff. And of course, both of the other women have been around a minute. Like they're talented veterans at this point. What do you think that they're going to do with these guys? Because we're sort of limited with the amount of groups that we have on the female roster, on the women's roster.
I have no idea. I've been asking. No, I've been asking that. It's just I see it. I know what you're saying, Bayley giving the rub, but I'm just. I guess you have to follow more of the story on social media. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, so let's ask this
get
question.
their feet wet.
Let's ask this question. So we saw Shayna Baszler lose to Liv Morgan, which is a little unbelievable. We also understand that the story they're telling is Shayna isn't going full Shayna. Ronda keeps pointing that out week after week. You're not a killer. Where's the killer? Where's my friend that would go break bones? I like that. I like that Shayna lost, but they explain that Shayna lost because she's not being the vicious, MMA killer that she really is. Ronda on SmackDown confronted Shayna, and they hugged backstage, and she said, "Hey, when you're ready to get back to being who you really are, come find me." And you go, all right, you have my interest. If they were to pull those two back together, where they were friends and they were in a faction outside of WWE, who would they add to make it a trio?
Sonya Deville.
Okay. The obvious choice, because she's a trained MMA fighter.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Sonya would be a good pick. Yeah.
Okay. So that'll be something that would be interesting. One of the things I think they did exceptionally well this week was the Dominic Mysterio turn. Yes. Oh my God. Like, we knew it was eventually going to happen. We all knew it was going to happen, but the way it was done, and it was done the same way as it was done back in the day. You saw the side-by-side footage with, was it Ray and Eddie, right? And the betrayal and the way that they followed it up with the Judgment Day stuff has just been Dom's transformation, all black with the hair slicked back, with Rhea Ripley. All that stuff is like, it could be cheesy, but the way it's been done is just exceptional.
Yeah.
If it's I feel like this is another thing that WWE has done right since Triple H took over, is they're really focusing on the aspects of the story, and they're really telling it well, especially with the turn. You knew it was, you kind of had a feeling that it could be coming for some time. You just didn't know when. And then when it happened, it was like, okay, they did this right. Awesome job by the WWE. They really did an excellent job at making Dom look like the bad guy. Now he's a part of Judgment Day. I'm interested to see where this all goes from here. I mean, I know there's this thing with now Edge and Mysterio and Judgment Day going on. I'm interested to see how this all plays out. We know that Beth Phoenix has been teasing stuff on social media. Every time there's a storyline involving her husband. So I think it won't be long before we see the Glamazon back as part of that crew. But Dom's turn, I thought, was probably one of my favorite moments of this past week. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, and just to clarify, like, I saw some stuff online about, Dom and Rhea being an older woman and like all this stuff. They're both 25. They're the same age. So let's knock it off with that nonsense. They're both the same age. They're like a couple months apart.
Right.
Tony.
And it's funny that Dom is Dom, but Rhea looks like a Dom. It's that. That's a funny thing, But they're doing a good job with the story, especially with Dom's turn on Ray. The WWE put it out on their social media last week when it happened. I think it was the day after. The way Dom looked when he clotheslined Ray was the exact same way that Eddie clotheslined Ray back when he turned on.
That's Ray. What I was referring to. There's a side-by-side footage. It's just
yes. That was amazing, and that's telling story 25 years later. That's awesome, And they can go back and tell more of that story. Like Dom could come out, and I was fully expecting Dom to say, I am now Dom Guerrero or something like that. That it would be below the belt for Ray. That would be
Dom Ripley.
Yeah. So they did a great job.
He should have a shirt that says, he should have a shirt that says, "You're not my poppy."
Yeah. Okay, so I do want to get into some Mission Pro talk, but I have one more fantasy booking question for y'all. The rumors are, and we have no idea, but there's rumors that Sasha and Naomi may be coming back, that they may have re-signed with the company. So let's say from a singles perspective, where do you see Sasha fitting in, understanding that the title picture on both brands is very well, those stories are being told well, and those are ongoing stories. So where do you put these, either Sasha or Sasha and Naomi?
I have
I see
faith in
Sasha
Triple
going
H.
back after Bianca Belair on Raw.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I think that would be the perfect story for Sasha because they have history with each other dating all the way back to the WrestleMania match that they had. So I think that would make sense, especially if Sasha returns as a heel to continue that story. I think that would be another match or two or a series of matches. I think that would be great to watch on TV or on pay-per-view. So
Yeah, they have to return as heels because that's how they were portrayed as why they left. Heels calling them up professional, and also we can around together, so they're coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For SmackDown.
Okay, so
Yeah.
We'll see.
hear me out. So Sasha is one of the best heels that the women's division has ever seen, and the company has ever seen. She's an incredible heel, right?
Yeah.
Ronda is going to be facing Liv for the title again coming up, right?
yeah,
I would like to see Becky cost Ronda the match, and then Becky and Ronda off on their feud away from the title. Have them their feud does not need a title. You have heel Sasha return and beat Liv, and then you tell the story of a babyface Liv chasing Sasha to regain her title, because the money is always in a babyface chasing a heel champion. Not always, but that's usually where the better bet is for, from a storyline perspective. That would get everybody involved and invested in different stories. I still think that the Becky and Ronda story has a ton of mileage left in it, and I don't think that they need to have a title.
No. I agree with that point.
yeah.
And one thing we're missing is Naomi. Bring her back as a heel and have her join her husband in the bloodline.
Yes. Yep. I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Although it's interesting, do they consider, I guess, the bloodline through marriage? Like, because we're currently everybody involved. Well, Sammy's in there. He's definitely not an Uso. So I like that call. Because then that gives them more people to work with.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a few minutes left, and I wanted to touch on a couple of things with Mission Pro Wrestling. We've been proud sponsors for roughly 3 years. Shout out to all of our friends in Mission Pro. That's Brian and Thunder and Melanie and Emily and JP and Jeremiah and like a million other people who have worked there and done so much to help elevate that brand. We've all been to shows there. I don't think, Elder, have you been to a Mission Pro show? I don't know. Maybe not.
I have not been to a Mission Pro show. No.
Okay, we're going to get you to a Mission Pro show. But so next weekend is their 3-year anniversary show. It's been 3 years since the rebrand of Mission Pro as a women's promotion, and they've done such an incredible job. We talk about them all the time. So many really talented people have come through the doors and are now signed to big companies. They're doing all kinds of big things, like, Roxy was there, and as Roxanne, she went on to become Ring of Honor champion, and now she's doing big things in NXT, and Lacey Ryan, and Zoe Stark, and just a ton of other people who are all over our TVs on a weekly basis have come through and either performed or gotten coaching, and just a big spotlight with Mission Pro. So let's talk a little bit about what I wanted to ask you guys, and I think, Tony, this is more specific to you because I think you've been to more Mission Pros than anybody. What are a couple of moments that stand out to you as moments that you would show people if you wanted to explain what Mission Pro is all about? And while you're thinking about that, I'll give you mine real quick, because Genocide and Holodead are going to be having a casket match next week. And we were at Locked and Loaded in 2021, and we saw Genocide and Holodead have an absolute war all over Pinball's Kingdom to the point where Mark Henry was covering his eyes and going, "Oh my God!" Like it was very physical and violent. So, what are a couple things that stick out to you?
Well, I was there for I think it was Keep 'em Talking. Me and Garza and Garza's brother and his wife were all there, and Masha had a match with La Rosa Negra. That match was awesome. I mean, both of the entrances, La Rosa Negra goes all out on every entrance anyway, but they just put on a clinic. I mean, that was a match that I would show an executive and say, hey, you want to see what Mission Pro's all about? We'll pop right down and watch this match. So that's my pick.
Okay, and for you guys, if you haven't been to Mission Pro shows, I know Elder, you said you hadn't been, but what's like one of the matches that sticks out to you as something that's you would show a friend?
Oh, I would show them every Holly Dead match, every genocide match. I'd show
F
them.
around and find out.
I show them every person that of Thunder Rosa fought against. I mean, there's so many bangers. It's so hard to pick just one because we've been there from like day one with the network, and it's amazing.
Okay, cool. Ezra, any matches stand out to you that you remember?
Oh, definitely the steel cage match between Thunder Rosa and Alice Kay. I believe that was
okay.
That's the match that sticks in my mind. Every time I think of Mission Pro, I think of that match because it was a mix between a wrestling match and a shoot MMA fight. It was an absolute war to the point where they had to separate them both at the end of the night. It was such a cool moment. I think it was one of my favorite matches I've ever saw when it came to independent wrestling. And, personally, that one, of course, Holiday Genocide at Pinball's Kingdom was great. And any of the tag team matches that we saw recently, especially Bougie Reality and the Renegade Twins, holy shit, man. That's a team. And by the way, shout out to both Charlotte and Charlotte and Robin. Both of those two women, they've been on AEW Dark, they've been on Dark Elevation, they've even been on Rampage, and they've been killing it, man. That's one of my favorite women's tag teams out there is the Renegade Twins, and those women, them, Bougie Reality, I mean, they've been absolutely killing it in matches, so that's another one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, and I just want to look at the chat here. I want to Trenda mentions Thunder and Janai Kai. That's honestly one of my favorite Mission Pro matches because Janai came in very nervous to be having that high profile match with Thunder Rosa. But boy, a minute into that match, she wasn't nervous and she was kicking the crap out of Thunder. And Thunder was like, all right, let's go. And boy, did they. It was a super physical match. We talked to Thunder after that match and she was very impressed at just how technical and physical Janai was. And obviously they brought her back again for the collective weekend. And then there's, I think, maybe some plans to bring her back again. I don't know. But I would definitely like to see more of her on my TV. And Trenda also. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I have another.
I would be remiss,
real quick, in that. Yeah, go ahead, Elder. Age before beauty.
Oh, okay. I would be remiss if I didn't say that anybody like I believe La Rosa Negra and I believe Genocide has done it, or Kylan King may have done it, but anybody who's abused Garza and his signs and MJF scarf signs. And of course, we have to the biggest shout out to Thunder Rosa, because she went past the sign and went to the person that is the sign, La Greca, for getting their ass kicked. I mean, those were great moments for all of us, whether we're there live or on the Zoom chat watching it. Wonderful time. Can't wait to see it live.
Yeah, and a group of us are looking to go to Mission Pro in San Antonio in December. Currently, the plans are, according to Dave and Thunder, that they're going to be teaming up against several tag teams. So
Yeah.
that's going to be an interesting one. And the rumors that I'm hearing are that there's going to be some very interesting people, some very must-see people that are booked for that show. So we're definitely looking forward to that. But while we have just a couple of minutes, I just want to run down the card real quick for next weekend. And the first match that jumps out to me is Jasmine Allure versus Michelle Green. Michelle Green is a very hardworking, very talented pro wrestler that Tony and I had the opportunity to spend some time with when we were in Atlanta in the NWA weekend. She's very, very driven, and I'm very happy to see her getting opportunities to do this stuff. She's trained with Thunder and Brian, and she's trained at Hybrid, and she's trained with Booker T's school, and she's just been all over the place training and getting better. And you're going to start seeing the name Michelle Green pop up, I think, more and more.
Yeah.
Tony, I think you would agree.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was so impressed when we got to hang out with her in Atlanta. Just impressed at how much she wanted to learn. I mean, she was like, we would be talking. We were talking to the Bearded Trio there in the kitchen along with Brian, and she was just like, I think she even had a notepad out writing stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
She was so, enamored and wanted to learn. And we were pulling up stuff on YouTube. Like, you want to see one of the most awesome heel turns in professional wrestling. We were pulling it up on YouTube, and she was watching. She was just amazed. And it was just I was impressed about how much she wanted to learn and how driven she was. I mean, she'd go off to herself while we were in the kitchen talking. She'd just go off to herself and just train.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see her have this opportunity. I don't see her beating Jasmine Allure, because Jasmine Allure has been running just former Mission Pro champion, and I think she's building herself up to put herself in that contention for the title again. But there's a couple other things too. The Bougie Reality versus Key Vibes and a mystery partner. I don't think they've announced the mystery partner, have they?
No, they haven't.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't see any announcements yet, but I'll be interested to see who that's going to be. Kylan King versus Caitlin Alexis. I just can't say enough about Kylan King. She is in every promotion, everywhere, at the highest level. She had NWA championship matches. She's been on Mission Pro. She's been on AEW. She's had more high-profile matches there recently. You almost can't go a weekend without seeing her on at least several pay-per-views. She's everywhere. She's incredible.
I agree. She's one of the hardest working women out there right now. She's one of my personal favorites, as John from South Jersey, our buddy there, always calls her the mother effing king, and she's proven that. I mean, her matches with Camille, her match with Camille at NWA 74 was fantastic, and she's been killing it everywhere she goes. And I don't think as much as Caitlin Alexis is a good wrestler and she's doing very well for herself. Come on, you can't stop Kylan King. She's too much on a roll right now.
No, I would agree. And of course, the match that we're all looking forward to is, Genocide versus Holodead in a casket match. Shout out to Sean for helping to donate that casket to Mission Pro, because when they brought it out at the end of the pay-per-view, it got a huge crowd reaction. And it's been a long time since I can't remember the last time I've seen a casket in an independent show. It's been a minute. We've seen them on TV, but not at the independent level. And these are two of the most physical, like hardest hitting women. It's going to be an incredible match. It's a thing I'm super, super excited for. I had hoped that we would find a way to get there in person, but not this time. But we're hoping we'll definitely be there in December. But it's going to be a killer pay-per-view. Make sure you check it out next week on the Title Match Network if you're not able to be there in person. If you are able to be there in person, I'm very jealous.
Yes, definitely.
Anything else about any of this stuff? I know we're right at 8:00. But I wanted to thank you, Ezra, for coming on and giving us a firsthand account of everything that went on last weekend. Between the GCW and Clash at the Castle and Worlds Collide and All Out. Like that was just like 3 days. Actually, that was 2 days. That was all within like 48 hours, right? No, yeah, 48 hours. All that stuff happened last weekend, and then you go into the press conference, and then Raw and SmackDown and AEW. There was just a ton of shit, and we never even get a chance to talk about Impact. And you guys that watch Impact know that Impact is having great shows, amazing pay-per-views. At some point, we're gonna have to start covering it, I think.
Yeah, real quick, Victory Road's coming up this, I believe, next weekend. Barbed wire massacre match between Steve Macklin, Moose, and Sammy Callahan is going to be an absolute war.
Wow.
You could go on YouTube,
And
99 cents a month. 99 cents a month, and you get to see the weekly show a half hour later. Just do it. It's easier than finding it on Access TV. If you have Sling or whatever, do that. But otherwise, and you could cancel. You could upgrade $1.99 for special pay-per-view was. You can see.
Okay.
Yeah, do it. That's what
I think
it goes out
there. Wow. Okay, that was a lot. You rewind that and play it back slowly. You'll get all the details. So RA mentions in the chat, thank you, RA. Because the shows are in San Antonio, the bell times are different than they were in Conroe. So the bell time is 6 p.m. Central, which means 7 Eastern. So we may adjust our time next week on our show. So that's a show note. Thanks, RA. We'll probably end up doing our show an hour early next week to make sure that we're done and dusted for the pay-per-view. Anything else you guys want to cover before we go?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Awesome.
I'd like
I want to
say
thank everybody
one thing.
for joining us tonight. No, nothing from you.
No, really. Just that tomorrow is an important day in the world's history, American history, 9/11.
Yeah.
Just remember the people lost that day, the many lives. A lot of people, I'm from Long Island here, Long Island, and there's a lot of people that were lost around here, and we have people in our own group that supposed to make the city that they didn't joined up with the military services and did whatever they could the day after, and it was her day, but it showed what in American people. It showed the best in just also on personal 9/11 was year before was my sister-in-law Norma. So rest in heaven, Norma. Love you.
Yes,
Well said. Well said. Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for joining. As I mentioned, next week start time will be an hour early. Folks, where can everybody find you on the socials?
Go ahead, Ezra.
All right. You can find me at Deadman469 on the Twitter. Same thing on Instagram. You can also, don't forget to follow Our Nation Sports Show, of course, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. On youtube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. We'll be talking, of course, week 2 predictions coming up for the NFL and preview of week and a little review of week 1. So check us out there. And of course, just follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Go Cowboys.
Tony?
Alder, where can people find you?
You can find me right there. You two guys can scissor me right here. And that's it.
Tony?
Well, of course, you can find me at Tony Justice, AJFA. And if you're a Metallica fan like I am, you know what that means. Ooh.
Yeah. We do. And you can find me everywhere at PW Front Row. You can find the show on Twitter at Nation's Corner and all other social platforms at The Nation's Corner. Folks, I want to thank everybody for joining this week. We had a good week. Lots of fun stuff happened. Hopefully nobody gets suspended next week. And we have just a lot of good wrestling. All right. Have a good one.